So now I'm going to move on and clean the fuel injectors. I'm going to test the fuel injectors, see what state they're at, see if I've got any faulty ones. Then I'm going to clean them, retest them, and see if I can make sure that all my fuel injectors are all balanced, all performing in the same way, and then I can remove any fuel injector potential issues that I think I might have. Now obviously, to test the fuel injectors, you've got to disconnect all your fuel system, the high pressure rail, the low pressure fuel pump. You've got to remove the injectors. Now there's a very good series of videos, anything to do with your fuel system for this engine, on Man Cave Mechanic. So I'm putting the details of that video on YouTube on the screen now. I've used all his videos for any fuel related issues, so I'm not going to go and show you the process I went through to remove all the fuel injectors and disconnect everything. I'm going to refer you to use his videos. They're very good, very instructive, very clear and precise, easy to follow. So he'll guide you through disconnecting all the fuel system, removing the fuel injectors, and also putting all the fuel injectors back. So follow his videos, they're very, very good. I made the decision that I wasn't going to send away the fuel injectors. I'm going to test them myself and clean them myself, purely because I want to understand if I've had any issues with them. Now I've never done this before. I used this, I bought this on Amazon. It's Mr. Car Tool. It's a fuel injector cleaner and tester. So it's a very good piece of equipment. You can see it here, you'll see it in action when we get around to testing the fuel injectors. It has a small ultrasonic bath in the top, and a very simple little gadget here where you can clean up to 8 injectors all in one go, and that just sits in the tank. You put your fuel injectors in, and away it goes, and it pulses the fuel injectors. The instructions are very simple. I've never done this before, but I found this piece of equipment very easy to use. The cleaner material, the solution that I bought, it's a basic ultrasonic cleaning solution. So you can do that, put that in the tank. There are solutions that you can put in the tester here for when you're testing the fuel injectors. I spoke to a few people. Consensus of opinion was use petrol. If you're going to use petrol injectors, use petrol. It's a little bit smelly, and you have to clean out the tester after you've finished. What I did is drain it all out. There's drain taps in the back, very easy to use. I then just put it out in the fresh air and let it just, the fuel that was left in it after testing, just vaporize away. So I thought that was a good idea. If I'm going to test the fuel injectors and see how they perform, might as well do it with actual petrol. So again, went and bought fresh petrol to test the injectors. So that's it really. Let's get on and show you what I found. Hi, so here we are ready to test the fuel injectors now. What I've done is, as you'll see, I've marked up each fuel injector, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8, because I can only test 4 fuel injectors at one time, and I'm going to be making notes on the performance of each one, and I'm testing them before I do anything with them, before I clean them or try and do anything else. The idea being is that if my problem was the fuel injectors, I want to see them as they were in the boat. So if I see a clogged one or underperforming injectors, then I know which ones they were. I can then clean the injectors, and because I've got them marked and I've made records of them, I can then retest them to see if I've now got 8 injectors all performing to the same level. So we're going to start the testing now. This is my first time using this machine, so we'll do it together. So this is the idle speed test, and here we go. So looking at that, I would certainly say that injectors 1 and 4 appear to not have a very good spray pattern, and so let's just make a note on that. And if I look at injector 1, I got 12. Injector 2, I got 12. Injector 3, I got 12. And injector number 4, about 10.5. So now I'm just going to drain the fuel out of those. And that was idle. Close the valve. Select the next program. This is a medium speed test. Again, you can see that the spray pattern on injector 4 was a little bit better, maybe pushing fresh fuel through it, but certainly not that well balanced, so this was medium. On number 1 we have 74, and 76 on 2, .72 on 3, and 70 on 4. So we can, whether that makes a big difference or not, I don't know, but you can see that certainly injector 4 is slightly underperforming. So now we're going to go for the next one, which is high speed test. I had to stop that test because I don't want the chambers to overflow with fuel. So on the high speed, I stopped at 1. So stopped at 1, and I have around 75 on 1, 75 on 2, 75 on 3, and 72 on 4. Okay, so now we go for the next test. This is the accelerating test. And we'll see what we do with this. I think you can definitely see that injector number 4 is definitely underperforming in terms of its spray pattern. So on number 1 we have 14, on 2 we have 14, let's just stop that, 3 we have 14, and 4 we have 12. So I go to the next This is the variable speed test. So you can see here, I'm just going all the way down the various options, starting with the idle and worked all the way through. I'm now on number 6, which is variable speed test. Okay. And again, in number 1, we have 24. In 2, we have 24. In 3, we have 24. And in number 4, we have 20. So again, number 4 is underperforming. Now we're going to do the leakage test. So I believe that what this does is it puts the injectors under pressure to see if they're leaking. You can see the pressure there. So we're up at about 50 psi, which is about the operating pressure that the injectors will see in the boat. And the good news is that none of the injectors are leaking. Okay, so now we're going to idle spray volume. So idle spray. You'll see the spray pattern now. I think you can see number 4 is not very good at all. So again, 1 and 4, you look at number 1 and against 2 and 3 and 4. So certainly 1 and 4 are underperforming. In fact, almost looks like it's dribbling out of number 4. I'm not going to make a note on the volumes here because I think shall I? Yeah, I will. So 1 is 20, 2 is 20, 3 is 20, 4 is 18, and really we would say that I'll make a note that 1 and 4 didn't look very good. So now we're going to go down for medium spray volume, and we'll see what we get here. Again, we're looking at 18 on 1 to 3, so medium, looking at 1 is 18, 2 is 18, 3 is 18, and 4 is 16. Let that fuel go back. And now, now we're going to go for the last test, which is the high spray volume. This is high, and we have 4, about as close as anything, 18 again, with number 4 underperforming at 16. So these are the notes I'm making. Obviously you'll make your own notes, but just went through each of the tests and then how each injector had performed, and then we moved on to the variable test, leakage, and then we started the spray patterns. So the idea being, of course, if you find one that's bad, and here we think number 4 is certainly underperforming, number 1 bit suspect, when we've cleaned them and test them again, we can compare. So we're going to do exactly the same now for injectors 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I've been analysing the results. I'm not going to go all through it, but if you want to examine these results, and you can just pause the video and look at them on this side. is the test as they came straight out the engine. Any note I made, 1 and 2 not particularly good spray pattern. They then had an ultrasonic clean. This is post cleaning, and you can see the results: 1 to 4, 5 to 8. And if you compare like for like, there's not a lot of difference. And if you compare across the valves, the injectors, they're all performing pretty much the same. So the only thing I'm going to do is, I do have a new set of injectors in case I had some faulty ones. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to put the new injectors in and just test them and see what sort of volumes I get compared to these results. Okay. So just to conclude, I've tested all the fuel injectors that came off the boat. Slight variation, but really pretty much all perform the same. Not a lot of difference between straight off the boat and post cleaning, and they were cleaned in an ultrasonic bath. I had no idea whether the performance of those injectors was correct or not. However, I had already purchased some new ones just in case I came across some bad injectors. So I thought, well, I'll run a test, and you'll have seen the test. So I ran a test with the new injectors just to do a comparison, and pretty much I only tested 4 of the new injectors, no need to test all 8, and all 4 performed very, very similar to the original injectors off the boat. So the conclusion is I didn't have an injector problem. May have had a fuel issue, but they all worked right from the beginning, so it's probably unlikely, because I tested them prior to cleaning them. If they'd have been clogged up, I'd have seen them not working. So I'm going to put all the injectors back, all the fuel system back, with a new fuel filter, and then we'll see where we go from there. Well, as you can see, I've just tried to start the engine. I'm back where I was at the beginning. I've checked all the injectors, they all seem okay. All the fuel system has all been cleaned out, completely emptied, cleaned out. Fresh fuel, new fuel filter, new fuel, pumped all the way through. And you can see when it tried to start, I was getting good pressure on both the low pressure pump and the high pressure pump. There was one other test to try. Apparently you can get high pressure reading on the fuel rail even if the flow of fuel is restricted in some way. So I connected up this 1 litre bottle to the fuel line that supplies a high pressure rail. I literally primed the pump, did 1 crank, and I got that much fuel out. So I don't have a fuel delivery problem. There's plenty of fuel available. So back to the drawing board and the investigation to find out what's going on. So you've just seen the results of putting all the fuel injectors back, all fresh fuel, all through the pumps, all through the injectors. Same problem. engine initially started, choked itself, and would restart afterwards. So I'm going to move on now. Now I know that I'm convinced all the fuel injectors are okay, fuel system itself is okay, fuel pressures are okay, I'm running new fuel. One thing I'm going to move on to now is I'm going to do a compression test on all the cylinders. Maybe I have some cylinders that aren't just reaching the correct pressure. So that's my next job.